Hello, welcome everyone. Good evening. I'm really glad that you save some time for this debate and for this event we are organizing online, unfortunately, but nevertheless, it's going to be I think very fruitful for each who has an interest in just transition, in the topic of just transition. My name is Miłosława Stępień and I'm from Reset. It's a platform for social ecological transformation. We founded this organization in March this year, and our first project, which we have started with, was a School of Just Transition. In summer this year, we spent time in coal mining regions in order to spark a debate about just transition. Already now in the whole Europe, we can see that coal industry is on the decline from economic, but also from political reasons. And the questions with which we started to pose in 2015 as a climate justice movement in the Czech Republic, and it was when the coal will end. It's no longer, I mean, it is still technically a question which year it is going to be, but nobody cannot now admit that coal should prevail till eternity. It's not a question anymore. The question is how the coal will end and how it happens. And this is what we were discussing with the people who are directly affected by coal industry in northern Bohemia. And we organized 2 participative workshops where we wanted to hear comments, demands and needs of directly affected people from climate justice movement, to organize a platform where different people and stakeholders could meet and exchange their ideas and their visions of the future of coal mining regions. And this, we are continuing in this project despite the fact that epidemiologic coronavirus situation appeared here or came back with even stronger force than in spring. So we had to accommodate our program. Unfortunately, we couldn't anymore organize workshops where people could meet in person. But luckily, we are still able to organize this wonderful panel debate about just transition in the Central Europe, in the coal heartland of European Union, where majority of coal-related jobs are located, where majority of coal is extracted, and that's why I hope that this debate will be fruitful for all of us, that we can learn something new from the people who are directly involved in making just transition in all those neighboring countries, in Slovakia, Germany, and in Poland. And that's why before the debate actually starts, I would like to also invite you for the next concluding debate, which is going to take place again online, again here in, you can find the information on the Facebook event of the debate. The debate is called Just Transition and the Next Economy, and it will frame the discussion about just transition in regard to global changes of the economy. The debate will be about how the new economy, which will respect both social demands and ecological limits of the planet. And the panelists of the debate will be Jagoda Munic, Director of Friends of the Earth, Asad Rehman, director of War on Bond, and Ulrich Brandt, political scientist from Vienna University. So it will be definitely also very interesting for all of you who are engaged in climate justice movement or willing to change the coal industry from within or from outside. So yeah, please accept my my invitation to this debate as well. And now we can finally come to the core of this event, to the debate which we named Just Transition in the Coal Heartland of Europe. I will now give this online space, this forum to the panelists who joined us. And first, I would like to give them this. I would like them to introduce themselves, because they will definitely do it way better than I would do. And in which country they are from and what they are doing, what is their main activity. I hope we still are having a good online connection, and I would like to give the word to Josephine Kellert.
All right, thank you. Hi, I'm Josephine. I'm from Saxonia in Germany, and I'm working for an organization which is called Konzeptwerk Neue Ökonomie. It's also working through different projects and concepts about social, ecological, and fair transformation. And I'm working there in the climate justice team. And in the last years, we organized a summer school during climate camps, first in Western Germany, later in the center of East Germany. And my main activities are kind of organizing people in relation to the topic coal and climate crisis. And I'm working there with people from the village Pödelwitz, a village where people were forced to go for the coal mining process, and now the decision seems to they will stay, which is very nice. And I'm also working with a group we founded this year in the beginning, a little group of people who wanted to change something during the topic just transition, and working with them on that topic.
Thank you very much, Josephine. Now I will give the word to Lenka Ilčíková.
Dobrý večer, good evening to everybody. I'm coming from the region which is called Upper Nitra, which is the, let's say, western central Slovakia, and I'm working for the organization Friends of the Earth in Slovakia. Our main focus is participation, and recently we have also introduced a topic which I would say is sustainable district heating solution. That's, I think, all for the introduction.
Perfect. Thank you very much. And last but not least, will speak Miłosława Stępień. Sorry for pronunciation. Maybe you better introduce yourself.
You can use the short version, which is Miłka. So hi, I'm Miłosława Stępień. from Poland. I'm from the central part of Poland, from the Konin region, which is a lignite mining region. Most of the stuff I do is connected with the association that I'm the chairperson of, which is Akcja Konin, which actually began as a participatory democracy organization that worked on consultation about the development of our town. And in recent years, we've become more focused on issues connected with just transition and phasing out coal. At the moment, we're very strongly involved in the working groups that are creating the strategy for the just transition in our region. And this is a huge achievement because just 3 years ago, it was unimaginable that in Poland, in our region, we would be phasing out coal. And this is still not fully accepted on the government level, as most of you probably know. So this is, it's moving very fast. There's a lot of things I can tell you about what's going on right now. So I will be happy to share all that later in the debate. Thank you.
Yeah, also thank you very much. I would like to ask then the first question, and it is, as I have briefly mentioned in the introduction, when we started this project, we wanted to create a platform where different stakeholders, different groups of people could discuss the future of the coal regions without and beyond coal. And I would like to ask you from your direct experience, from your perspective, how
I think we lost Mikuláš.
That different and also possibly even like alienated stakeholders participate in the debate together. Is the decision making inclusive in your region? And maybe we can start the other way around, Milka. Maybe you could start now.
Okay. I think in terms of participation, from my experience, a lot of it has been that we just don't take no for an answer, that we tell them we want to participate. So a very important part of that is unfortunately media work. So a lot of it has to do with being in touch with the media, telling them what we want and what we want to put forward. And this has had direct results because, like I mentioned, 3 years ago, there was absolutely no talk about phasing out coal in our region. And of course, it wasn't only the things that we were doing on as, let's say, social activists. It was also to do with what's going on at the European level, where they started talking more and more about the phasing out of coal in Poland, and also the economic situation, which has caused coal to be increasingly less economically viable. But at the same time, the fact that we were talking all the time about the need to move away from coal, that this was becoming more of a movement and more people were discussing it publicly, and also talking that we want to participate in how this is done, it has made it that we are part of the process. So I think it's really important to remember this as activists, that because I frequently heard, you know, we don't want you here, or they would organize events during which they wouldn't invite us. And we would just say, okay, we're going to be there anyway. So I think that's a very important first remark. Another problem with alienation, I would say, is that we've had a lot of problems as ecologists, or as the ecological side, with coming into contact with employees of the energy plants, or from the mines themselves. This is, I think, mainly because we are given a very bad reputation. They are told that we are the enemy. And even at an initial moment when we wanted to meet them to explain to them how they can also benefit from the just transition and how they should prepare. We wanted also to offer them workshops and advice and who to contact so that they can fight for things from more of their perspective. It was very difficult to find space for a dialogue. I think this has only changed very recently when the official decision came that we would be phasing out coal in our region. So this has been something that we've been struggling with a little bit. At the moment, we're at a completely different stage, I would say. So our side is very much part of the debate. We're taking part in the working groups that are building the strategy for the local region. We still have to fight for our voice to be decisive, I would say. So sometimes there are various ways by which they try to sort of make the participatory process seem like it's participatory, but at the same time the decisions are made somewhere else. So we have to fight this all the time. I'm a very upfront person, as you can tell, so I don't hide these things. I think this is something that we have to fight all the time and we have to be aware of. So at the moment, our group is specifically focusing on making sure that the ecological issues are included into the strategy of the just transition. So part of the social activists locally are working on employment issues to make sure that the people who will be losing their jobs will be given opportunities and will be provided for, while our group is focusing on hydrological issues, so water, because as we know in open pit regions, that's one of the biggest issues. And the region where I'm from, we're losing lakes, we're losing rivers. This is a region which is very dry. Well, maybe not last night because we had a huge storm, but generally it's a dry region with droughts every year in the recent years. So this is the major thing that we're trying to bring into it. And because of how demanding we have been, I think we're going to manage. This will be within the next couple of months. So I will give my voice over to somebody else. Thank you very much.
Thank you, thank you. Lenka, you are on turn.
Okay, so it's my turn. So I would say that we are maybe advanced in just transition because our just transition plan was already approved by government last summer. And what I'm extremely proud on is that this just transition was largely based on inputs of local people. And when Milka was telling her story, it reminded me very much what we had 1.5 to 2 years ago in my region, because we had, I would say, very similar findings. First is that the beginning is never easy. We also fight it against the central government from the beginning. And what I would like to say now is maybe something that is not linked with the Polish region, but we need it very much and we appreciate it very much that we had a strong, courageous leader. It was a mayor of the town, and I think that simplified a lot of things. Our strategy was mainly based on support of the local municipality who found it the courage to open the topic, the taboo topic. We will de facto stop the burning coal for electricity production in 2023. People knew that already in 2017-18, but they were afraid to open the topic. So the municipality was the one who started. And when Milka said about the working groups, it immediately reminded me my region, because in January 2018, our municipality largely invited people via web, via local newspapers, via local TV to participate on the debates and to take a part on the working group, local working group. If I should say some details, we had 4 working groups: economy, transport, social infrastructure, and tourism. And these people who worked on the transition of on the content of the transition were led by the university. So the university professors set the structure of the work. I don't know if this is enough for the time being.
Can I ask a question? You didn't
Sure.
have an ecology group?
Specifically, ecology specifically not. It really depends on the people's interest. So the economy group was mainly attended by local business people. Transport, also local people or local transportation companies. Social infrastructure were mainly directors of those institutions which are linked with the social infrastructure. So the working group were very much depending on what kind of people came to call. What maybe was very interesting, it could be interesting also for you. This was the beginning, but at the end we on the top have had something what we call public hearings, and people in the region had opportunity, those who didn't attend the groups had opportunity to discuss about the prepared material. Now we estimate it was maybe 300, 400 people who came, and we had around 100 something comments to that material. So working group and public debate, that was our main participation forum.
Thank you very much for your reply. And now, Josephine, could you tell us how does it look like with participation on just transition debates in your case?
Yeah, maybe it's good that you know I'm talking from a perspective of the there are 3 coal regions in Germany. And there's one in the west, one in the center, and one in the Lausitz, the east, and or the east. Yeah, and I'm talking from what I know about is in the center, because each region does it differently. What I can see is in political debates is that people are not using the term just transition. They are just using the term structural change, and more left parties or activists are using the word, or organizers are using the word just transition. Yeah, for me it's like symptomatic. Yeah, and the public process. I don't know if you are interested in the frame of what happened before, because now we have 2 laws depending on the exit of coal and for transition, or just transition in our case. So maybe if you want, I make it short and will tell you about it. In 2018, we had a coal commission. It was like people from parties, different parties, and also NGOs and economic players were debating a minimal compromise, like a coal exit act, but just not the act, but the plan how to get there. And this was, there was to see an indifference because the people who were sitting there and debating and make this process were more parties, and it was not, they were not on the same level of power, and so it was more like a minimal compromise. Then everybody was happy about that. Then later, 1 year later, the government gave out a Coal Exit Act, and it was much worse than the compromise this working group did. For example, the coal exit is planned on 2038. And so the NGOs and organizers and activists said it's much too late. And together with this Coal Exit Act, there was a Structural Strengthening Act to see, okay, how can we look that people don't lose their jobs, and to make this process slow and see that there will be a good structural change and stuff. Yeah, and they decided about money and how to get out of coal and different steps during a timeline. Yeah, and the public opinion, from my perspective, wasn't seen so good, because, or it was not good, because the different the different parts of Germany, they can decide about the money they become from the state, and can decide which projects they support then with this Structural Strengthening Act. And there were made some public events to debate about that with people from the regions, from the civilization, from the citizens and the people there. But this process was just a brainstorming, and nothing happened afterwards. And this is it here in this region. Nothing will happen. They will write something and give that out, but nobody is forced to do what they've written down. And people are also angry about that. But there are still people and alliances who talk about that without the parties or the politics. So they try to organize themselves. They try to debate about participation processes, also how to get money to do some projects. Like I said before, there is a village here called Pödelwitz, which will stay, which coal will not destroy the village, the coal mining. So these people are planning at the moment, organized by themselves, how to make this village in a fair, transformative and social ecological way, a good process to do what everybody who's still living there, and also to invite new people to come there. And this is very nice to see that. And the biggest problem at the moment is how to get the houses back from the power plant owners, because 80% there is owned by the power plant owners.
Yeah, thank you very much. We can see nowadays.
I just can add to Josephine's speech something. We also were very happy when we introduced to our action plan the fact that the new mining field, which was planned to be open, that it will be that was refused by people from the village. And I can just confirm that it's very happy feeling when you can see something like that written in an official document. So I can confirm that some happy feelings you can have when something like that happened.
And it's similar in Poland because 5 years ago there was a referendum locally. One of the villages officially was over 90, I think 7% of the villagers in the referendum said that they didn't want the open pit mine that was planned there. But they continued to go ahead with plans for another open pit in another area. But I'm really happy to say that just last week, the owners of the mines and energy plants in our region have officially stated that the business plans for the nearest years will not include the open pit mine that they were planning. So this is probably the region in Poland. We have six regions with coal in Poland. So we're one of the biggest, unfortunately, coal producers. Two of them are, well, three of them are, two or three are lignite because it depends on how you count, and the majority are hard coal. Our region will be the first region in Poland probably to phase out coal. So we are we're probably a pioneering region in Poland in terms of just transition. The plan probably at the moment will be between 2025 and 2030 for a complete phase out within this area. That's why this is so important that, you know, we're also gathering information from different groups that are perhaps a bit further ahead or have slightly different experiences, because this is happening very fast here. This is, it's like 2-3 years, and it's a complete change from the discussion that we had back then. The participatory process at the moment is also a bit, I would say, makeshift. It's not very developed because it's all being done very fast. By the end of this, also we don't have a lot of support from the government because, of course, in Poland we don't have a very official plan of just transition. I think the main reason why in my region this thing is going faster is because the coal and the energy plants are privately owned. So they're looking at the economic solutions, and it doesn't make sense to invest in coal at the moment. So this is all being done in a very fast, in a sort of makeshift way. And the strategy has to be done by the end of this year. So we have to have a just transition strategy by the end of 2020 so that we can fit into the just transition funds on the European level. Because this is, unfortunately, because we have no plan in place in Poland, this is the main thing that is giving us support as a region and an idea about how to do this. So we hope that the government catches up.
Yeah, this is also very related to the question I would like to ask now, because as there are now on the European level, there is this platform of coal regions in transition. There is just transition fund created, and right now there are discussions how much financial resources will be distributed to the affected regions. And how much and how the money will be distributed. And from my personal perspective, as we were having discussions with the local people here in the Czech Republic, people were quite worried about where this money will flow to, what are the prepared projects, whether it will not be basically money laundering of public resources by mining companies just with different activity, whether there is even an opportunity that this public, this support for regions in transition will trickle down to people who really need it, people who want to transform the regions, are either small business owners or live in the small cities. So I would like to ask you, are in your region some like examples which would give you hope that this process will go well? Like some examples that we might tell the people in the Czech Republic and which might be replicated here? Yeah, maybe we can start. Josephine, do you know about any examples? You mentioned that Pedlwitz is an example of people taking the fate of their settlement to their hands. So maybe do you want to add something to that?
Yeah, and they have the support from the climate justice movement, of course, and they are very glad about that. And now, step by step, because also of media work, people are coming to the people in Pedlwitz and ask how can we support or how can we live here. And with all the supporters, we are planning, or they are planning in the next steps to have a group process, because this is also difficult to think about how to create a village. How should the group process be? Who is working when, and who has time and capacities? So this is difficult, but they try to do that. And there are some little funds where you can order money or try to get money, and there's a foundation, and you write your idea, and then you get money if you're lucky. So they got a little money at the moment, which is not enough to plan how a village can look like, and if you need support from the outside, but this is growing at the moment, and I'm very happy to see that. And what I'm also happy to see is there's an alliance between the coal regions in Germany, which is called, in translation, All Villages Stay. This is also a big alliance and an important alliance where all the 3 coal regions are connected, and they can talk to each other and also talk about what went in our region like this, or can you give us advice in some processes, or and this is very nice to see and to support and be part of this process, because that gives me hope that these people are connected and can support each other. Also, for example, in the Rhineland, all villages, or 5 villages, are planned to the government wants to dig and cut out the villages and sorry for my English, to kill the villages. I just say kill. And this is very hard for the people there, but they are also strengthened by their processes together, and also by learning from other people from other coal regions how some stuff about laws, and be an exchange about that. And this, and there were also talkings with local politics and local mayors, for example. This is starting now, and this is good, because Pedlwitz went to the mayor of the commune and said they prepared together with all the villages and the supporters, they prepared like a paper with the measures and the vision of the village, and said to the mayor, this is what we wish, this is what we want to, and we want to work with you together. Are you with us? And then this was a 2 hours talking, and the mayor was very open and listened to it. But he's just he's a player in the bigger process, and he maybe can't help on everything, but also to go to politicians and talk with them is important at some steps if you want to change something. What we don't have so much here in the region is the process together with workers or with union members, because less people are working here still in the center. Just 2,000 coal workers. So I never talked so much with them, and there's not really the organization of this union members who want to create the process with us, but with the climate camp next to their door, there were also processes of talking, and it was very nice feedback from the villagers and also from the union members that they had good talkings with each other, and this is also important to see that. Yeah.
Thanks a lot, Josephine. Milka, as Josephine mentioned, the example that the villages, the settlements could organize some, like, let's say, network of and cooperation between each other. In Poland, there is also such an example, right? Or could you tell us something about how the villages manage to cooperate with each other?
Well, here in my region, I think the cooperation has grown. Well, I would go back first to the platform, the coal region platform, because that for us was a turning point, because until our first participation in the coal region platform in Brussels, like I said, there really wasn't talk about phasing out coal here. So because since there was no government plan for it, people saw it as a huge threat. They saw it as there was no opportunity, there was no safety net. It was just a threat that would completely destroy the region, because this region is completely economically dependent. Or was dependent on coal and on the energy plants to a large extent. Except for that, there's mostly agriculture and tourism, which is also in decline because of the consequences of lignite mining, which has been killing the lakes. So until the coal regions in transition platform, there was no narrative to use to say, okay, we have a plan, we have an idea. And when we started getting involved with that, also some local politicians became involved, the mayor also of our town. And every time we went to the Coal Regions in Transition platform, we would go in a larger group. It began with social activists, and then every single time it would be more and more actors. And after about 1.5 years, we signed this huge agreement of the whole region, which was signed by various local mayors, social activists, by the energy plant, that we wanted to transition. So this was like another sort of milestone in the whole process. And then the European Union came up with the idea of the Just Transition Fund. And because we had been so active in Brussels and also on a national level, you know, constantly telling we need help in this region, we can't deal with this by ourselves. We know we need to transition, but we need help. That finally, it turned out that there are only three regions in Poland that are included into the Just Transition Fund. Certainly, this is certain that we're included. It's Konin, it's Silesia, and Lower Silesia. So Upper Silesia, Lower Silesia, and my region. The other ones are sort of more optional, even though they definitely also need a lot of help. So this shows that even in a situation like ours, where it's very difficult to find national support, if you're really, really set on it, then you can find options. I think the good thing with the Just Transition Fund is that it has very specific requirements. Because this is something that we've been looking into a lot at the moment, because we're also, a lot of us are afraid that, for example, the mining and energy plant will back out of recultivating mining regions, which is part of their obligation. This is something that they should do, so that they will throw all the costs of that onto somebody else. We're afraid that, you know, that they will build up their business without really solving the issues in the region. So this is a lot of the fear, the threat that we feel is connected to that. But I think it's really important also, if we want to take advantage of these funds, is to also lobby with politicians in Brussels to make sure that they put in specific requirements that make sure that it's a participatory process on the ground, that they actually look into what the specific situation is in each of our regions, and that they make various, I don't know, sort of legal regulations in there that will stop the money from being abused. And I know this is all difficult, but I think this is also important on our side to not forget that the funds will be coming from there, and depending on how they write the law there, that's how it will be spent here. So not only do we have to make sure that we are sort of making sure the participatory process here, we have to also make sure that the European level knows we're interested and that we need them to safeguard certain specific elements. So, I mean, for a while, they didn't want to introduce the hydrological issues and the ecological issues into the Just Transition Fund here regionally, but we showed them, you know, this is in the Just Transition Fund papers, this is in the legal documentation, this is part of what we can apply for, so we want it. And this is unfortunately how it works, that we have to do a little bit of push and pull. I forgot the second part of the question, which I wanted to answer, so maybe I'll come back to it later after Lenka.
Okay. I think that we have to always remember that with this big financial support also comes a big responsibility. And this is something what we are saying everywhere and every time, and we are requesting to have each supported project to have a certain criteria fulfilled. But I think we have to more or less agree that the mining companies were ready, but they knew that that coal is inevitable, and they have a lot of projects prepared in advance. So we have to rush after them. And I think very much is capacity building important. Currently in my region are two projects which are really focused on the capacity building of municipalities and local governments to be able to produce projects. And also there is a support for small and medium enterprises. We as an organization have decided to come with one specific project. I have to say that I don't know how it is in Poland and Germany, but in Czech Republic definitely the heating is very probably the same. The heating infrastructure is probably very much the same as in Slovakia, and sooner or later on the table will be the topic of what will be the heating source after the coal. And that's currently our project. We are now preparing the project renewable energy to replace the heat generated from coal. And hopefully this is something that could also be beneficial for the region in the nearest future. We want very much to focus on the renovation of the buildings, on the energy optimization as a prerequisite to use the renewable energy. So I just wanted to promote our project because I am very much stick to it. But overall, I would say that capacity building is very much important in the just transition regions.
Yeah, thank you very much. Yeah, I would like, we can see that there is quite, in Poland and in Czech Republic, also quite a distrust on like how it could end up badly with the financing of just transition, that it might not really be in favor of the
I think we lost Mikola.
Yeah, may I ask? I wanted to ask you if you or your organization have been, for example, a target of a campaign of mining company, when the mining company wanted to like gaslight your arguments, you know, to show that you are not a respectable partner for the discussion, whether you have experienced something when the coal mining company deployed some negative tactics on you, or tried to engage workers and the unions against you. Do you have some of those experiences? Yeah. Who wants to start?
I can say it's not very aggressive, like I haven't been attacked verbally or physically, but it's usually negative, more like negative gossip and a negative approach generally to ecological organizations. So it's specifically like saying, you know, that we're not serious, that we're freaks, that we don't know what we're talking about. And in my region, it's a lot about me, them saying that I want to take away people's jobs, that I want to close down a place that is supporting people. So these are the type of attacks that we receive. It's a bit strange because in recent times they've been sort of ambivalent. So at times they will say things that are very ecological. So right now the coal company from here is talking about opening one of the largest solar panel farms and one of the largest windmill farms as well in the region. The owner has been talking about this program, which is called Czysta Polska, which is the Clean Poland. And his company is currently was one of the biggest sellers of solar panels for houses. So, they right now they're using the ecological lingo, the narrative, while at the same time saying that we're attempting to get people to stop people from having jobs, and it's very dual, I would say. It goes two ways, and sometimes, of course, you get this idea that maybe this is you know, a bit too much greenwashing. So, but I wouldn't say that they are very, very aggressive, as in you know, that I would feel threatened in any specific way. But I also have to say that I'm not economically dependent on anybody, because I'm a freelancer, and I think this makes it much easier for me to be outspoken about what I'm saying. It's much more difficult if somebody has a job in the town or somewhere in the region, because then sometimes I've heard of people being threatened with losing their jobs. I myself have not experienced this, but I've heard of it. So I think this should be mentioned, because this is a very specific way in which they get people to quieten down, I would say.
Yeah, thank you. Josephine, I saw you reacting, so could you please elaborate on how does it look like in Leipziger land?
Yeah, I could recognize same structures and tactics from what you said, Miuka, here too. So these are very aggressive. It's not very aggressive, but this depends also on the region and if people are still working in the coal business, and the pressure they are getting from their village or from their bosses or whatever. I would say this is in the Lausitz very, very hard sometimes, and people who want to stay in villages, it's very, very hard for them because they There's also vandalisms next to their homes and people who are really bad and try to put them out there. And they all say, for example, there's a village called Miłosława, and they all say, yeah, we go now and you don't have a word here to stay. And they say, we decided to stay. If you want to leave, you can leave, of course. And this is very hard because the other side doesn't look on this like that. They just say, let us go, and you're destroying everything and you're the only one who is still here. Then other tactics from the right parties is, for example, to say there is no climate change, which is caused by humans. And there is no crisis. There's also sometimes in the public opinion that we really need the coal, otherwise there's a blackout. And if you look at the numbers, we don't need the coal, and there don't have to go more villages because the power stations they are writing red numbers since some time. There's also this argument of losing jobs, and this is also very different in the regions, and it's not a big percentage. Here I told you it's 2,000 workers, and in Lausitz it's a bit more, and in the Rhineland also, but it's not so much like 10 years before, where this hard coal policy took place in Germany, where everything depended really on coal. And then the more difficult argument is, from my perspective, when they say we need gas and other fossil infrastructure to get a bridge to the renewable energy, because renewable energy won't do it now. We can't do that now. This is hard to say, no, we have to exit from all fossil energy.
Thank you. Lenka, did that happen also to you, that you've been somehow discredited for the discussion about just transition by somebody, or threatened, or?
Not me personally. I just have to say that from the beginning, the mining company was treating all the activities which were happening in the town with a big respect. So they always said something like, in a sportive terminology, that they are not playing the town league. They are just playing the national league. So they are just the Ministry of Economy is their partner. And this step by step disappeared, this approach. But what I have to really say and mention, the mayors which wanted the change were under very dirty campaign in the communal elections in November 2018. So that was really hard time for them. The campaign was extremely dirty from the side of the mining company which had their candidate, especially in my town, which is the biggest one in the region. And I have to say that the result of these communal elections was excellent, because all these, I think it was 3 or 4 mayors, were the winners in the communal election, despite of this dirty campaign from the side of mining company. So that time I remember I was really very happy. So November 2018. But me personally, I didn't feel never any threat or nothing like that.
Yeah, we have one more question from the audience, and it is directing to the future economy of the region. Like, can you see an example of your region where you are involved in the activities to coal phase out? Do you see that there is a future of the economy which would not be directly connected to economic growth, but rather directed to care, to lowering social inequality, and to put different priorities than economic growth as such? Do you see any like alternative economic examples of alternative economy basically in your region?
If I can start, I can mention our project, which I already are constantly presenting. In that district heating solutions, you can also solve or you can implement something what is called prosumer. So if you live in a block of flat with a roof, the roof could become your asset. You can also sell the energy to the system. So this is one moment which I think is very friendly to people. We also have to focus on energy poverty, but we do not have already nothing concrete now. And what's that I wanted to say? I wanted to say something else. And as I mentioned, the precondition or prerequisition for the renewable and sustainable district heating, you need the renovation of buildings. So we would like very much to somehow enable the proper renovation of buildings, which means 15,000 households in my region. So imagine it's around 35,000 people. So this is something very concrete what I can say.
I think that will be a direction in which we will definitely have to go in Poland as well, because of course in Poland we have a huge issue with smog. I think it's even worse than in the Czech Republic and Slovakia, who have started with various means of countering this much faster than we have. This is also caused by national regulation, which until very recently didn't really help with creating, for example, these communes, energy communes, prosumers. Yeah, so this I think will be definitely a direction in which we can head, but I think the major issue is because of course I'm also sometimes a politician. It's very difficult to tell people that we will be moving away from growth. So while there are communities within which they know this and they will build self-sustainable communities or groups, like we have, I don't know, agricultural small communities which do lots of various versions of bartering and stuff like that, or no waste or zero waste communities where they also work with various things like that. This is still a minority in Poland. So in majority, especially if you go into politics, if you tell people that we will not be developing, they're not ready yet in Poland for that message. Because now that we're going through the just transition here, if you say, we're going into a different economy, it's too fast, it's too complicated, and it takes baby steps. Right now, what they want to hear is that, we will find a way in which we can help you maintain at least the living style that you have at the moment. And this is a very, very big problem, I think, for climate activists and for people who decide to go into politics. Because I wouldn't say that I like being in politics. I do it because I think that sometimes you need to do that in order to push regulations, which are very important. And it's really, really hard in Poland to change anything if you don't have the right the legal regulations. At the same time, once you go into that world, you start realizing as a climate, as a person who is aware of the climate situation, as a person who is aware of the climate catastrophe, and who knows what we should be doing, it's very hard to find a way to tell people this directly and make them listen to you. Especially if you're doing in rural regions, if you're doing in regions in which there are a lot of actually climate denialists that don't believe you when you tell them, you know, we are in such a bad situation. So I would say there are opportunities, but there's still minorities, at least in Poland. It's more popular in larger cities. It's less popular in such an approach is less popular in rural regions. The options are there, but we need a huge educational campaign and explaining a lot of things to these people before we can get to that point where we're talking about a completely different approach to lives. Because in Poland, I don't know if it's the same, I think it's the same in the Czech Republic and in Slovakia, because we were behind the Iron Curtain. Right now, people want to catch up. They want to catch up to the mythical West. So they're constantly talking about material matters. And they're still not at that point where they're ready to give up on that. I'm not sure when they will be. I hope they will be soon, because the situation is getting dire and we need to move faster. At the same time, I think we need to be very realistic about how difficult it is to talk to people about things like that.
Yeah, there's a lot of what you said I would repeat. I also think it's similar here. Most of the people are not willing to think about what degrowth can be, or what alternatives can be, instead of looking how the economics is growing in different parts. So I think it's difficult to change these mental infrastructures. And this is, for example, also a big part what the Konzeptwerk Neue Ökonomie, where I'm working, is doing. We had a congress this year, which was about how can be our future in 2048, and what can be alternatives in which sectors, like the care sector, how can we grow there and see care work as a very important part of society, and degrow in other parts. To see, it's also difficult here. I think in the bubble I am, people think about that, and people talk about that and discuss about that, and also think about power and what's behind that, and stuff. But I'm living in a city, so like you said, it's on bigger cities, more common or more hip, or there are more younger or people who can connect fast, and on rural land sites it's much more difficult because there are not so many people, or they are sparkled in different villages, and they have other connections to each other, I guess, and there's not so this big organizing processes like in cities, for example. I don't want to say it doesn't exist, but I think it exists in a different way, or less. And but what cities can give is the power to organize stuff for the rural land side next to us. And there's here, for example, a lot of commons, and how to create a different agriculture, how to create different renewable energy, how can we think about our concepts of mobility, driving by car, or and stuff of that. And there this has a it goes out of the city. For example, with agriculture, there are projects which are based on collective thoughts, and there are same in other sectors, and it's good to see that it's step by step, and it needs time. And yeah, for me, my vision is to more people get these thinking of growing is not meaning or degrow is not meaning losing. It's growing on another level what we missed till now. And yeah, and it would be my vision that it gets more out there and people try to understand that nobody will take them away something. Yeah, and work together much more, get in communication with each other, and this is also can be a sparkling process to feel more connected to each other.
Yeah, I have one question which is a bit connected to this topic. Do you think that just transition discussion about just transition is somehow trapped in like cultural conflict we are experiencing in Eastern Europe, like with the rise of authoritarianism, be it in Slovakia, in Poland, and I guess in Germany it's no different. When you have these cultural conflicts, which especially on social networks, on social media, when like emancipatory struggles are connected to one ideology. Like, do you see just transition trapped in cultural conflict, or actually is it in your cases that just transition helps to get out of the cultural conflict, to get to discussions with people out of your identitarian bubble, let's say. If I can say one example we experienced during the summer, it was on one debate in a small town close to Počerady power plant. We had a discussion with one guy who was strongly opposing the power plant, and yet on the other hand he was a supporter of of nationalist party which is in the parliament. So it was quite surprising that we found a place to discuss whether we cooperate and how, but on the other hand it was difficult for both of us, for each of us. So do you have some other examples when it was either successful or not successful at all?
Is it okay if I answer?
Yes, please.
Well, I think the major issue is that what we're talking about is not easy. Well, what you get from them is populist, easy answers. Yes, change is not easy. We don't like it psychologically. And you're telling people, look, you're going to have to change, and you're going to have to change in a major way. So in this way, this is going to be here all the time. At the same time, I agree with you, Mikolas, that we have these moments now where we're having conversations we would not have expected. In Poland, for example, there's a lot of the green movement, generally not political, but the green ecological movement is very closely connected to more conservative values, because we have the Laudato Si movement, for example, the global Catholic climate movement, Hołownia, who is one of the new political forces in Poland. So they're more conservative than, I would say, let's say, if you imagine the Green Party, they have a more liberal in terms of social issues. And you have, I think in Poland, what is growing is a more conservative green movement, ecological movement, which is not connected directly to, let's say, the nationalist movement. They're something separate. And there are a lot of areas in which you can communicate with them, and you can work on specific ecological issues. So this is an example of I would say, unexpected changes in recent years. And another is, like you said, like, you know, that I've met anti-coal activists, I would say, that are completely unexpected. So people who are, for example, very conservative. I met this one farmer, an older man, very, very, very conservative. He was quoting the Bible all the time. So this is not something you would expect from, let's say, the leftist ecological groups. At the same time, he was at all the protests against the coal mines. So another thing is that Just Transition also shows you that one of the groups that is most often, especially in lignite mining regions, one of the groups that is most often left out of the whole discussion are the farmers. The farmers who, because of the huge water issues that are caused by open pit mining, they have been for years completely ignored. And suddenly, even though in a lot of issues, like, I don't know, animal rights, cutting of forests, I don't know, hunting, these are issues that there's no way that we can communicate. At the same time, in the issue of just transition and moving away from coal, there is some ground for a conversation. So I would say that you do find very, very strange coalitions or alliances during this process.
Thank you a lot. I think we meant the same person, as you mentioned, the farmer, the conservative farmer in Poland. Yeah, he's perfect. I mean, I really enjoyed the discussions with him. Yeah, Lenka, sorry.
It's a lasting impression.
Yeah. Yeah, Lenka, I would like to give.
I do not know this farmer.
If you come to Poland, I will introduce you.
I would say in Slovakia, this just transition had completely different, or we look at it from the completely different angle. For years, the coal mining in Slovakia is supported by state aid. And this state aid became a symbol of corruption of our ex-parliamentary party. So I would say rather Just Transition in Slovakia is taken something like coal phase out, corruption in coal phase out is going to be soon in end. So I would say we have rather business pragmatic discussions within the region. I wouldn't say this is a cultural discussion here in Slovakia.
Yeah, it's maybe here also more like this, like you said, Lenka. I also see that the politics and the power station owners are like that, and this you can see also how the renaturation payments to the coal companies during this coal exit plans are looking like they're getting much more money than this commission suggested, and this is still doesn't taste good, I would say, because like you said, Miłka, before, it's there, they damaged, they profited, and now they got paid to get out of coal. This is absurd. But I don't. So I'm sometimes worried when I think about just transition that my definition is completely different definition than the politics which are happening here, because for me it's like what I said before, more inclusive, more participation processes, or this should be in the center, that citizens can create the process by themselves and not directed from the politics. And what I see in this structural strengthening act they put out in July is how the money shall go, and it's looking like it goes to infrastructure projects, which will be in 10 years not good for the climate crisis topic, because then maybe our mobility looks different or should look different. They also they want to strengthen gas and hydrogen, carbon, I don't know the English word for water, water gas.
Liquid gas, natural gas.
Yeah, kind of that. And then also science and thank you, and technology, and a bit tourism. But the big topics where the money shall go, this is in the power of the different states in Germany. And they put the money there, and they put it already, they decided already over the most of the money. And this process was so intransparent that nobody really can say, okay, who got the money? Okay, what are the plans there? And how can citizens participate? And it's it's hard to see that the participation processes are so low, and it's so intransparent that people are hungry for informations here, which are who are living on the coal regions. For me, it's not a trap, but it's a hard way to fight for, to scandalize that, and show what is just transition.
Yeah, we have one more question from the audience, from the listeners, and it is, how do local people perceive the coal phase out? Like what they worry the most, and are they anticipating something good to happen out of the coal phase out in general? Could you summarize the expectations of the locals? Maybe we can start. Lenka maybe can start.
I need 1 second to think. Of course, I can't speak on behalf of 200,000 inhabitants of our region, and maybe I'm monothematic. But now the biggest discussion which is going in our region is the district heating. Sorry to repeat it again and again. And people are expecting a good price of the heat after the coal phase out. This is one thing. And another one is the development based on the vision which we already have defined, hopefully, which is that we will become an attractive attractive region where the economy is growing up or is developed together with the good environment. The truth is that 50% of our population lives in the environmentally degraded area. So, okay, to summarize it very quickly, the price of heat is very actual one, hopefully the growth, economical one, and the improvement of the environment.
I sometimes have the feeling here people worry about everything, what depends with money, and sometimes I have the feeling we are in a comfort zone. But I can understand the fear. Here in East Germany we had the GDR system, and when this broke down in the 1998, things changed and many people lost their jobs, and this was like a trauma for many people. So sometimes I have the feeling people worry about losing jobs or losing their identification with this topic, because before they were heroes to work in coal mines and make the energy for the state and stuff, and then the system broke down, and then also a bit later there was said coal is not good and working there is not good. And so sometimes I have the feeling from a worker's perspective or from family members who identify with that, this is difficult to I think there's kind of a loss which needs to talked about and also to emphasize about that. Yeah, now I forgot the question.
Yeah, but what do people worry about coal phase out, and what do they expect to be beneficial from coal phase out?
Yeah, I think here in the region, people worry about that there are decisions and processes and structural change where they can't participate, and everything goes on like always and nothing changes really much. And of course, they are also worrying about different topics like the agriculture and the loss of water there, and also about air pollution and how can we have renewable energy here, and how about the big company players, how will they create processes here, because many people are wishing for not big monopoles, more regional and little working stuff. Yeah, but a big worry is how to get work in the rural landscape, because many people are moving or getting older, and this is a big worry.
I seem to be getting both my all members of my family into the picture, from my cats to my daughter. But I will want to answer the question. I agree very much with what Josephine said. Josephine said that a lot of it in areas like these is connected with losing jobs, because these are areas which have experienced job loss in the past. So we had the mining restructurization. I'm sorry. Like I said, my daughter wanted to participate as well. So in the 1990s, we had the restructurization. So we lost over 85% in the mining and energy sector, 80% jobs. And in the recent years, the region has been depopulating. We have also the problem of the aging population, so more and more old people. This is, I think, very, very typical for all mining regions, especially lignite mining regions.
Even if I can interrupt you, even I have had the terminus technicus shrinking towns.
Yes, exactly. So we have a typical example of a shrinking town. We have migration of young people because there are no more jobs in what used to be the main areas that were offering jobs. So what people are worried about is whether they will have jobs. They are worried about also losing the money that they were getting within the various municipalities from providing land to the mines, because they get specific money for that. So this helps the communes to sort of develop and to have money, for example, for various local infrastructure, or I don't know, schools, etc. So this is one element. On the other hand, like I said, you have the farmers who are really, really worried because they have droughts. They don't have, their crops are not growing. So these are groups that look at the phase out completely differently than people who are more dependent on the coal mines. But another thing that I think we've all mentioned is that right now there are not really that many people employed within these mines. So in the Konin region, in the coal mines and in the energy plants, you have about 1,000 people at the moment, directly. Of course, the mines, the whole company claims that there are about 6,000 people employed in connected companies, but I would say it's much lower. But it is an issue that you have a mono economy. You have an economy that is, to large extent, it was built around the coal mines and built around the energy plants. So people are used to this old system where you have this big producer, this big provider, and suddenly he's disappearing. So this is something that they're worried about, that they don't have this this big producer that will provide for them. And of course, another issue is, you know, in the city, in the towns specifically, where will we get heating? Where will we get energy if suddenly the energy plants are turned off? The whole process of switching to renewable energy in Poland is still moving too slowly. Too slowly also to provide primarily heating. So I think it's really important what Lenka is doing in Slovakia, because this is a project that we really need to speed up on in Poland. Because this is, you have a lot of people also experiencing energy poverty, and they're worried that, you know, if they're not going to be able to heat their homes with coal, then it's going to get really expensive for them. So you need a whole program where you will take care of these people, especially of people who are not capable of, I don't know, filling out very long forms and being proactive about changing their energy and heating sources. And this is all something that is very much lacking. So do they feel positive? I think some people do. Others are afraid of change. And this is something that you really need to address when you're you know, in the field talking to people, because these is the arguments that you will be getting. This is the attacks that you will be getting. You know, you're taking away money from the region. You're closing down the main provider, and you need to offer solutions. And it's really hard to, because our solutions are very diverse, very made up of many different little elements. And politicians, most of the time, they like to talk about big projects, big investments, you know, big changes. You know, we open a big company and everything will be great. So this is something that you have to deal with all the time, as I mentioned before. So I think the perception is changing, but we need huge educational campaigns, and we need very specific campaigns that answer the needs of the people in the regions, to show them, okay, we offer you this, we can help you with this, we can you know, get you heating, we can get you energy, we can get you some sort of you know, sensible work conditions. And that's the work that's awaiting us in the next years, I think.
Yeah, we are nearing the end of our debate. I would say it's yeah, almost 8:45, and I would like to ask one question. It is directed to one commonality of all the regions we are discussing, and it is all of those regions experience direct action of climate justice movement against coal infrastructure. And I would like to ask you, like, how would you evaluate this direct action? Did it shift the debate? How do local people perceive it? And how can climate justice movement learn from or influence the debate about just transformation? How it can find the synergy with the needs of local people? Josephine, you are probably closest connected to climate justice movement. Can you start, maybe?
Yeah, I hope I understood the question correctly. Yeah. oh, wait a sec, I have somebody who can help me, but I will ask if I understood the question correctly. All right. Okay, there is a big movement which is called Ende Gelände. They are going and block infrastructure, coal infrastructure. And they're also thinking at the moment in their different working groups how to participate in other programs, for example, what comes after coal or with mobility or other stuff. And there's also the Fridays for Future movement, which is quite big here, and Parents for Future and stuff like that. Yeah, did I answer your question?
Yes, sort of. Also, like whether you can, for example, say if direct actions against coal infrastructure have changed the debate, and if so, how?
Yeah. Yes, I would say they changed the debate a bit, this big presence of this movement, of the big activist groups, it got in the media, it got in the big media, so that people recognized it, that there's still that there's something like coal mining existing for some people, because some people don't know that or did not know that, and also I would say on the local level, people who were first against civil obedience, they are now, for example, villagers who are fighting for their villages are now kind of on their side, and also say, okay, where is no justice, there you need this obedience, and do things the law says don't do. Oh God. Yeah. So this change, I would say, and also a big acceptance and solidarity from more and more people is recognizable for me.
Well, I would say it had a huge influence because most of the time we are working with a lot of different climate organizations and climate movements from on the national scale, and they provide us locally with a lot of knowledge, networking, and also media coverage on the national level, so that because a couple of years ago you didn't really hear about the issues that were in this region. Right now we're very frequently in the national media, which is really important because this is a way in which we can get more interest and get more focus on what needs to be done here. So this is really, really important. Also, like I have a PhD in literary studies. So for me to get into energy transition, just transition, coal mining, coal phase out, this was a very, very big jump, which I would not have been able to do without a lot of support from people who could come in with the know-how and teach me and help me to develop, an approach for the region. And this is true for a lot of the local organizations, that we need this input from outside. I think that the networking in Poland really, really works at the moment. We have a lot of contact with Silesian activists, with activists in other regions of Poland. We exchange information, we know what's going on. We also have specializations, let's say, so everyone is sort of divided. So there aren't a lot of us, and I think this is true of the whole of Europe. There aren't that many of us as there are on the other side. but we're very, very determined. And because we work together in these networks, we're able to sort of support each other and exchange information in areas where we don't know everything. And this has had a huge impact on what's happening in Konin, because like I said, 3 years ago, there was nothing even being discussed about this. Now we're going to be the first region in Poland to be going through the coal phase out. So I think this is a huge achievement of both local organizations, local politicians, but also of national climate movements that that started drawing attention to the fact that this is an area that needs help.
I think I will just repeat what both girls already have said, that these direct actions have mainly affect mainly the national level, and then the villages which are directly affected by the mining activities. So these two levels, I would say. But in the region, the discussion was not so much affected by one solitary action. Rather, people were irritated by that because they took it as something what came from outside, and so. But anyway, I have to say that the national level and the level of the villages affected is a huge impact.
Yeah, if I can just because we have the climate camp near Konin. And this year even we had this issue that there was a protest at the mines, and locally it was very negatively perceived. So this was also maybe because the decision to phase out coal in this region had already been largely reached. So in some ways it was seen as unnecessary here maybe. At the same time, I still think that it's a way of drawing attention to the fact that we really have a huge problem with water, for example, here. That there's a lot of greenwashing still going on here. So yes, I would say it's both sides. I think it brings a lot on the national media coverage level. Locally, I would agree with Lenka that it really sometimes can be negatively perceived. Especially since a lot of the people coming to these protests are from outside of the region. That's why it's very important to get a lot of local support for such actions. And there was a little bit here, but maybe not enough. Also in rural areas, the more civil disobedience acts, they're perceived very negatively. So if you have like Engevelende or something like that, then with the white what's it called? The people in the white
overall.
Yeah, in the white overalls. I had some of my friends this year doing it here in the region, but at the same time, like I got a lot of negative comments from people who are not in climate activist groups that it's too much, it's going overboard, especially since, like I said, in Poland, you still are not, I think, at the level of awareness as you are, for example, in Germany. Though maybe I'm being too optimistic about Germany, I don't know. Thank you.
No, I think it's like you described. There are sometimes it's like you described, and it's different in each region. I would say in the Rhineland, there was an action in September from Ende Gelände, and you can see on videos that the All Villages Stay Alliance, they went through police because, and this was their first act of civil disobedience. And in another region, in the Lausitz, for example, there was an action 2016, and it was also not accepted so good. And there was an action in 2019 again, but there was work to not repeat that, because the people there felt like the protests you described, like in UFO, going there and then move away. Yeah, it's still work to do.
Perfect.
the most positive are the most positive reaction is to the youth strikes. Yeah, so that's but this is also mainly in the towns, I would say, and in the big cities. But this, I think, has been getting the most media coverage and the most positive reaction.
Yes, it is great that the new generation starts to be engaged in that struggle about the future, about the just future in the coal regions. I'm really glad that you all participated in this debate. We are now nearly debating nearly 2 hours. So yeah, I would like to just thank you very much to all three of you, to Josephine Kellert, to Lenka Ilčíková, and to Miłosława Stępień. And also, I would like to thank to all our viewers, especially to those who pose questions. And again, I would like to invite you for the next concluding debate on Saturday. Also, I didn't thank our donor and partner, Rosa Luxemburg Stiftung. Without their help, this debate or the previous workshops would not have happened. And unfortunately, we had to organize this debate online, but I hope it's not the last opportunity we have. We had to discuss this topic, and hopefully we will see each other in the future, maybe not in the mine, but in the in the places which are awaiting their bright fossil-free futures. So thank you all once again very much. Yeah, also I forgot to thank to our technicians, our translators, and also lastly, I have to mention again that follow please our website and social media of Reset, platform for socio-ecological transformation. And now I think we are all a bit tired, and we should also have a rest and stay strong and healthy in this pandemic time. So thank you very much, and yeah, goodbye. Thanks a lot.
Bye-bye. Thank you.
Thank you, everyone. Goodbye.
Bye.
Bye.